Welcome to the Floor and Order Time Chat. Today I'm joined by Karin Littleton, a nutritionist and the founder of KazLit Nutrition, who works with busy women to build sustainable energy, confidence, and long-term health through practical, evidence-based nutrition. What strikes me about Kaz is her refreshing take on productivity and time. Her work reminds us that how we fuel our bodies directly shapes how we think, focus, and perform. So it's not just about what we eat, but how we eat and whether we're giving ourselves the space to properly nourish ourselves during the day. So in this chat, we're exploring the link between food, energy, and productivity, and why stepping away from your desk, eating properly, and supporting your nervous system isn't indulgent, it's actually strategic. So welcome, Kaz.
Hello, thank you very much.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. So to kick us off, can you share a bit about your journey into nutrition? Like what led you to becoming a nutritionist and focusing on women's health and workplace well-being?
Okay, that's a story in itself, isn't it? So my background is banking and finance. I spent 20 years in banking and finance for the same one of the big fours. And, nutrition was never really on my radar at that stage of my life. Maybe the last quarter of that journey, but the first 15 years, definitely not. There was nutrition, health and wellness was not even really on my radar at all. I was typical probably of, most people 18 to 20 something, heavy drinking and all that sort of stuff. Had tried to be, going to the gym and things every so often, but nothing really stuck. And it wasn't until I hit 35, I had some major things go in my life. Split up from my partner, moved towns, lost my job because we had our own business. So, I did a lot of things that were quite stressful in a short period of time. And when that happened, I had the shift then around, okay, unfortunately, I had lost a lot of weight during that time, stress mostly. I was eating thanks to my beautiful mum who would feed me every day. And I got to the point there where I was like, okay, well, I've been blessed to have lost this weight. I need to do something now about keeping it off and being healthy about that. And even then, still no idea really about nutrition. I think I did light and easy for a while because it was easy, right? So, you put your details in, it's like that, here's what to eat. Unfortunately, that gets boring really quickly because it is all the same all the time. But, it was great. It was convenient. It was simple. Didn't have to think about it. And I think that's one big thing about nutrition, which I'll talk about later. Roll past a few more years. I did a bodybuilding competition, and at that time I had a PT and a nutritionist, and they both helped me on that journey. And that's probably where it started a little bit more. So what am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And, I was starting to be very disillusioned by what I was doing. And so, for me, I was obviously being pushed in that direction or guided in that direction. And so eventually I came to the decision and had no job, that I would go to university. And that was for the first time in my life. So at 44, I decided to go to university. I started with the pathway program so that I could learn how to go to university. And then from there, studied nutrition. So that took me 4 years between part-time and full-time study. And I went down the path of sports and exercise nutrition because I was in the gym quite regularly, and I'm like, okay, well, that will work. But what I soon realized is that sports and exercise and fueling is imperative to all of us. So it's not about, oh, I go to the gym 7 times a week. It's about, okay, I've got to get the kids to school, or I've got to do this, or whatever your thing is, right?
Yes.
And also health promotion was another side of my degree, and that looks at the larger community and different communities. Haven't quite ventured into that area yet. But yeah, I guess that's a short version of how I came to be where I am. And that obviously, that last part, deciding to go to university was also that I want to know, like, I want to understand what food is, what nutrition is, and then be able to pass that on, because there's a lot of information out there, and I get that. And yeah, it's hard to distinguish what is right. I don't like right, wrong, shouldn't. But what is the more correct version of the truth,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating journey to
Yeah.
where you are now. And bodybuilding, that's something else.
Yes. That's
Yeah. Well, is that something I'm often noticing when I'm helping people with their calendars,
Yes.
especially, both small business owners and employees, is having people add lunch like that, to treat it as just as important as all the other meetings they need to go to and things like that, or like inbox processing time, stuff like that. So helping people put those things in their calendar. From your lens, what happens like to our brains and our bodies when we push through without breaks or food during the workday?
The biggest thing I find with the women and the men, really, that I work with, the people that I work with, is that by pushing through those times when we should be having lunch, and I think lunch is the big one, is that our body relies on our food to provide carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is the body's preferred source of energy. And if we're not eating, and we're pushing through and we're having that another cup of coffee, maybe a biscuit, which, yes, it will provide energy. But it's not a lot, right? So it's, I guess, a biscuit, when we think about that, that's a real like chunk of sugar, which the body goes, yeah, great, thanks for that. But even as business owners, as employees, even if you're sitting in front of a computer, your body is still working, your brain is certainly working. So by skipping those meals, or at least skipping lunch, then we're doing our body an injustice. We're not fueling it so that it can get through the day. And this is, definitely something I see quite often with the people that I work with. And they come to me and they go, oh, I'm just tired. And when we look at their food intake over a day, their breakfast might be maybe substantial, maybe not so substantial. Then lunch, they're like, oh yeah, I just got to get through lunch, and then dinner, and then they'll have maybe a large dinner, or they'll just snack on something random, right? And that's really not helping them feel. I've just did a talk recently about, thinking about your health as an investment and as part of your assets and balance sheet, because if you're not working, then your business may not be working either. Yeah. So stepping away from, so putting lunch in, really can affect those energy levels, but productivity and their long-term health as well.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like adding it to your calendar. It's a reminder that this is something I need to do, and people will find, maybe it's between 12 and 2. It's okay to move that around.
Yeah.
That's some pushback that I get, like, oh, but I never know, it's never going to be at the same time. It's like, well, there's often that window, right, that someone hungry. Yeah.
One of the things that I talk to my clients about is just doing a mindful minute, right? So before they eat, a meal or a snack, like step away from that screen, take a breath, sit down, even if it's for just 60 seconds, because that takes the body out of what it was doing, gives it this mini break that can help reduce stress in the nervous system, but it also gives the body a minute to go, oh, I'm having something to eat.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing those two things at one time, 90% of the time you're going to be so concentrated on that email or that whatever you're doing that your body's not really registering that it's eating. And so that's where we get to that, oh, I'll have another cup of coffee because I'm tired, you know, because our body is getting fuel, but it might just not be getting enough of it.
That's really interesting. So when you have people, oh, I'm just grabbing a bite at my desk, but I'll keep looking at emails, I'll keep scrolling and stuff. Yeah, it's not as harmless as it appears. So your brain, like your body's not even registering that it's having a break or food. Really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because it's the same if you sit in front of the TV at home and you're eating, you know, something, right? You're eating and you're watching TV, and then all of a sudden you look at your bowl and you're like, oh. Or, you know, it could be the bottom of an ice cream bucket. You know, you've eaten this whole thing and gone, oh, I don't even remember eating that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's even though your body knows that it's eating, because it's being distracted by something else, it does sort of sit there going, I don't remember eating, you know, and that definitely is why the brain sort of thinks it's in a go mode still. So it's not really, it's not having that break. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because that stepping away from your desk is so important. As you say, even just 60 seconds, like just step away. And it doesn't take long to have a sandwich or something away from your desk and just give that break.
Yeah, I love how you said sandwich, Chrissy. I love that. The humble sandwich is such a great way, because one of the things, you know, is that I hear this in social media quite often about, you know, not spiking your blood sugar and all of this sort of things, and, you know, eat this before you eat this, but really, you know, to stabilize your blood sugar so that, you know, it is you, and stabilizing your blood sugar means that you're putting glucose into your body, which is mean you're putting energy into your bloodstream, right? And by just having a balanced meal, which can be a sandwich, because your sandwich has got fiber in it, it's got protein, you've got healthy fats, especially if it's something like a, you know, a salad sandwich with a protein, right? We've got lots of beautiful things in there, piece of cheese, and all of those things just helps our blood sugar rebalance or, you know, stabilize, and we can be sharper. We can have, you know, fewer energy crashes because we've had that, you know, balanced meal. And, you know, especially as business owners, we're making decisions all the time. So, you know, we can make those decisions a lot better when, you know, our body's fueled properly.
Yeah, that's so true. Because sometimes like I work from home and know a lot of my clients do, and so sometimes I don't feel like I'm doing very much, like energy expensing wise. But say if I've had a session or run a class, and I might get off of that and I'm suddenly ravenous, and it's like my brain has used up so many calories that I'm like, oh, I need to refuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And when you mentioned that about the decision making, like decisions take a lot of calories. Yeah,
they do. Yeah. And so if you're pushing through those breaks, or, you know, and like you said, it doesn't need to be a long time. It doesn't need to be an hour meal, right? It can just be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever you can nut into your day. And I think people would be surprised at how much that would affect their day. Think that we're productive when we work through, but really we're not. You know,
Yeah.
those breaks are so important. And I link it back to when I was at uni. I couldn't sit there all day and push out like 3,000 word assignment. I need to step away. I need to go away and need to let my brain not think about that. And 9 times out of 10, when I do that, especially with assignments or things where you're having to, put things together, make decisions, as soon as you step away and stop thinking about it, your brain just goes, oh, there you are. That's what you needed. And you're like, oh, yes. You might have to run back to your desk or something and write your notes or whatever. But, it's not just the food as well. It's the brain having a moment to take away from what it was doing and have a little break.
Yeah. Because breaks are, I think in our introduction we were saying like indulgent, like breaks are almost seen as like if I had time or wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. I've got a note here, like a short break is not a luxury, it's a productivity strategy.
Yes, I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Break, like having a break, refueling is productivity because it's helping everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so from the work that you do, what patterns do you see that people do through the day like that end up in exhaustion at the end of the day? Is it?
Yeah. It's that cup of tea and a piece of toast for breakfast, and lunch, they might have a salad. But we're talking, lots of leafy greens, maybe some protein, and that's it. And, like going back to the sandwich is great because it's got, the bread, which gives us our carbohydrates, our fiber, protein as well, possibly. Then you've got, I don't know, let's just say you've got some barbecue chicken left over from, your Coles, you put that on there, you've got some salads and avocado or something, like all of that stuff together. And my brain's just disappeared off my run.
Sandwiches.
But, by building that type of meal into your lunch rather than just that salad with maybe some protein, it just provides people with that energy to get them through the day. Because I don't know about you, but I know a lot of my clients, they're either entrepreneurs and they're running more than one gig, or then they've got families. So, they're trying to get through a day of work and then jump into being family mode. I think probably, one client that jumps out to me, she had 2 teenage daughters. And when she started with me, she said, I'm like this ghost in the car when I go and pick them up, and she picks them up at whatever, 3:30, and they're teenagers, right? And she said, I'm just like a ghost when I pick them up. I just pick them up and, can't really have a conversation with them, just no real interaction. And just by making a few little tweaks during her day, and she was one to work through her lunch quite often, or just have something really unsubstantial. And, we just made a few tweaks and it made a huge difference to her. She was able to pick her daughters up, enjoy their company, and be interactive with them rather than just that ghost in the car. Yeah.
And you're right, is that self-awareness of observing yourself through the day, like when don't I feel at my best, or when am I not showing up? And can that be easily rectified with food?
Yeah. And you're right, awareness is a big part of it. It's not about, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, because we're all different. Some people might have breakfast when they wake up, other people might wait till mid-morning, and these things are okay. It's just knowing how it works for you.
And that makes me think about something you said earlier, about not having to think about it so much, like so it being simple for you.
Yes.
Did you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I'm just looking at my notes here, but simplicity is something I work with around with I feel that what I see a lot of the time, prior to knowing what I know now, was there's so much stuff out there, right? And there's all these cooking shows and, you know, all these people making beautiful food on Instagram and, you know, just, I mean, I save recipes, but do I ever use them? No. And it's taking it back that step and realizing that it could just be one small habit that we want to look at changing or making something more simpler, make it simpler. You know, and I do that through helping to, I say educate, and it's not the greatest word, but showing people, you know, because also a lot of the people that I work with, you know, all they know is the macros, so protein, carbohydrates, fats, but then they don't really know how that all works together. And so what I do is I bring it from those 3 macronutrients into food and food groups. And so that rather than being a word, it's actually what they're able to eat so that they can, you know, make easy decisions when it comes to having food. And I use one example, one of my like really quick, easy supermarket lunches, and one of my clients, she loved it because she worked in a retail space and she had a Woolworths just round the corner. And it's a bag of lettuce, a protein, and a bag of the cooked rice. And those 3 things can make a really simple meal that fuels and provides you enough to get you through, you know, an evening, an afternoon, whatever that shift is. But it's something you can pick up, you know, any time of the day. And the protein can be all different things. It can be tuna in a can. It can be something from the deli, like a roasted meat or something like that. It could be, you know, the barbecue chicken off the rotisserie. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just needs to be something that's going to fuel you and get you through the day. And so it's like simple things like that. Showing my clients what a balanced plate is. So we talked about that a little bit before. You know, a sandwich, that can be a balanced meal. And yeah, just those regular breaks, but also that mindful eating. I talked about it briefly about that, you know, 60 seconds. You know, just taking that moment to actually realize that you're eating can make a huge difference in your day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're making me think back to my lunch. I just had some chicken, and it's an easy thing to, like a cooked chook from the supermarket. Like making these things simple and not something additional, because I think it's kind of like in modern day, today's society, it feels like these things that are foundational to life feel like another thing to do when the thing to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like without food, we can't do anything else, but it feels like something we're shoehorning into other stuff. But simplicity, I think, helps a lot with bringing that back into our everyday.
And you know, I guess moving on, like adding to that is those extreme diets and rigid food rules that we've had over the years. And this is something I work on with my clients as well, is that awareness around those. Often they're creating more stress than what people realize. And so that can impact on you know, because stress obviously impacts on our body and our digestion as well. So you may not even realize it. And I have a client that we found out she had a lot of food stress around potato, particularly white potato, just because of everything she'd heard. You know, white potatoes are not great, you shouldn't eat them, you know, you should always eat sweet potato. And she realized, like, so we went away from that day. We just talked about white potatoes. She came back the next week. She said, oh my God, I feel like this weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I've realized that it's not just potato, it's white rice, it's white bread, it's white these, right? Because all food has a place in in our diet, because diet just means to eat food and what we eat in a day. And yeah, so, you know, taking that stress away from her was like a huge thing. And so coming back to her having, you know, or anyone, the goal is to be consistent, to nourish our body and not be perfect about it.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. And we spoke briefly about coffee earlier. That coffee and tea kind of coffee, I suppose more so that people rely on that a lot to get through the day.
Yeah.
When we're reaching for coffee and sugar and all that, when we're tired, what's going on there in our in our bodies? And
yeah, I mean, coffee's that perceived thought about energy, right? Yes, it does have that, you know, up and go, but it's really not giving you what the body wants. So it's not giving you the carbohydrates, it's not giving you the sugar that the body wants to use to fuel itself. It's just giving it that perceived energy. And so then if you're reaching for sugary snacks, it's giving you that sugar that your body's asking for, which is fine. You know, again, context. Are you eating one chocolate biscuit or are you eating the whole packet, right? Or are you having something that will fuel you for a longer period of time, and it's giving your body not just carbohydrates, but it's giving you some protein, some fats, some vitamins, some minerals. And all of those other things will obviously support digestion, blood sugar, mental clarity. So it's not just giving that quick hit of energy, because like the Tim Tam, the lolly, whatever that sugary snack is, it's going to give you that quick hit. But the reason we go down so quickly after that and need something else is because it's just a small amount.
Yeah, so it's myth busting around those, like your work is you know, with the white potato and the white rice and things like that, and the foods that have gotten a bad rap out there, and then the things that we associate with productivity, like coffee and sugar and a chocolate hit, and instead replacing that with healthy options and consistent energy.
And like, I'm not saying don't have, you know, the chocolate, don't have the coffee, but I know as a woman, as a woman over 50, 2 cups of coffee a day and anything over that, it just wreaks havoc, right? And I used to, and I've had to cut down my coffee intake. Some women have to cut it out totally. You know, and so it's, again, it's just knowing what works for you. You know, I had a client who used to have her chocolate in the evening. That made her hot flashes worse, so she started having it in the afternoon. So not cutting it out, just thinking smarter and working out what works for her. And it gave her a nice afternoon tea as well, you know, so she'd have a cup of tea and a piece of chocolate and go back to work. But we also worked with her lunch, so that her lunch was providing more sustenance, so that wasn't I need to have this because I need the energy. It was, this is my afternoon tea.
Yeah, that's interesting. About a year ago, I switched my dessert, my little block of chocolate from the evening to the afternoon, and I found that I wanted it more at lunch than I did in the evening. And now I have it at lunch, and like I don't want it in the evening. And and the same, I had a friend who she swapped hers to breakfast, like, so she was having a chocolatey, oaty sort of, you know, breakfast, and she said, that's it, I don't need chocolate for the rest of the day, you know. So really, what works for you, what are you needing? And and as you say, with coffee, I can't have a coffee after 11:30. Like, I just know that that's going to destroy my sleep for the that night.
I know. Yeah, no, totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh wow, that time has flown by.
Yes.
What's a small change that someone could make this week that would improve their energy noticeably?
I think just like you said, have your lunch in your diary somewhere there in that whatever, and work out what that looks like for you. So is that I can definitely take out 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever that is, and then work it in. But build it in think about it as a recovery break. So if it was a piece of equipment, is it running 24/7 without any breaks? Probably not. There's not too many things that work over a 24-hour period. So build it in as a recovery break. And I like to suggest that you go and have your lunch. It's hard in Queensland outside at this time of the year. It's too hot, it's too muggy, it's raining, it's doing something. But if you can see outside is always beautiful as well, right? Seeing some nature. And then if you can also, after you've had your lunch, go for like a 5 or 10 minute walk after you, because it does help support digestion. So if you eat and you're one of those people that feels like a bit heavy after you eat, no matter what it is, then eat, get up. And it's not like power walking, it's just a stroll around the block or something like that. It'll support your digestion. Again, it will help with the blood sugar stabilization, but it's also going to help with that mental clarity, so that when you get back to your desk, you know exactly what you want to do. So it's not time wasted, it's time invested.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. I love that it being a recovery break. That's a really nice angle on that. And you're right, nothing runs 24-hour and we're human beings, not human machines.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this. It's been amazing.
Welcome. Thank you.